In 2019, DAP started the Human Rights in Correctional Facilities project to support the rehabilitation of inmates and improve their reintegration into their communities. The project is funded by the European Union and is implemented in 6 adult correctional facilities and 3 juvenile approved schools across Zambia, working with over 1,600 inmates. One of the ways that correctional facilities rehabilitate inmates is through the support of academic learning and vocational skills training by improving rehabilitation infrastructure, learning systems, and programs in these facilities. The project has provided vocational skills training equipment in Serenge and many other correctional facilities. Mrs. Namata Mayombelo, the Deputy Commissioner at Correctional Services Headquarters in Kawe, says changes have taken place since 2016 when the Correctional Services rebranded from being called prisons to correctional facilities.
Zambia Correctional Services rebranded itself from prison to Zambia Correctional Services in 2016 under the Article 106 of the Constitution of Zambia. The shift meant, which I think you all know, that it meant a shift from punitive model to correction model. In the punitive model, meant that when one is incarcerated, one was really meant to be punished until one is lawfully discharged from the facility. But under correction model, when one is incarcerated in a facility, it means correcting that person, rehabilitating that person, changing that person from an offender, a person who breaks the law in whichever way, to a law-abiding citizen.
Human Rights in Correctional Facilities Project Grant Administrator Barbara Bikoko gives an overview of the project and where it is operating, and also the key mandate of the project.
Basically, the project aims at improving the welfare of inmates as well as supporting systems in ensuring that incarcerated persons actualize their rights as human beings. This project is fully funded by the European Union, and of course it's done in full cooperation of key partners such as the Zambia Correctional Services, the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, as well as other community partners. In this project, we operate in 9 districts, namely Mansa, Samfya, in Mpika, Chinsali, and then Serenge and Mukushi. Then we have 3 districts where we have juvenile approved schools. That is in Katombora, Kazungola district, and we have Insakwe in Dola district, and we have Nakambala in Mazabuka district. So in all these, the key issues are to ensure that we support the facilities through our very appreciated partners in establishing facilities that are able to provide strong systems for rehabilitation and reintegration back into the community. We believe that through such systems we are able to ensure that the rate of reoffending reduces, hence ensuring that the purpose for rehabilitating these inmates in the first place is actualized.
At all 9 facilities under the project, it has built or rehabilitated buildings which function as vocational skills workshops and academic learning spaces. The project has further supported literacy programs at all these facilities.
I wish this EU project and so forth, it continues forever, because I've seen a very big change. I'm saying so or big help from them. I'm saying so because, as I said earlier on, that like at this station, we didn't have classrooms where we could start from, especially in the areas of education, areas of skills. We didn't completely have these things. We didn't have these things. But from the time that EU came in, otherwise it has really helped us because they brought in the issue of these buildings. In these buildings, there are desks, there are plenty. In these buildings, we have got different machinery that we are using at this moment. All these things, they were brought in by the EU, of course, in conjunction with the DAP itself that is in the forefront. Otherwise, these are some of the things that they have helped us to change in our lives towards these facilities.
An inmate, Paul Mlenga, who sat for his grade 9 examinations while in an adult facility, talks about his aspirations and shares how useful learning has been to him and others.
Sinayandine Paul Mlenga, the Zambia Correctional Facility, mufungwa. Ndetasha sana pano pachifungwa paserenje ina tukwata kwa shuko pamunga fema inmates ili akwata kwa ma skills na batupera kwefya kuchita pamunga ma inmates kuri abatera ring kuri na fufwe ma skill ma our education so apa twari chitana enda twari alemba na exam ya grade 9 era kabiri futi apana tukwatene chitekero apanga fyafuma amadiza uti pakufuma natukwate chitekero ko batwala pasa because twadishiwe twalele mbana ndi people twalele mbatolembere ko science, English na mathematics na Zambian language. So ndetasha sana nene kabiri futi nene ninkwata hope yako batinga nafuma chifungwa apana arafuma nkaye twalile skulu nkaye tampa grade 10 pakuba tili skulu nene nkapushe buno limbichi na isaba ko limbi teacher na bako limbi even na ingira ko ya mkanso kaye these days na wakanso balefu ama paper so ngana kwata kufuna which paper cha grade 9 kwata ko nature 12 kutina bo bench to eri yonse pakuba tina ine na survive la muno ruporondi na ine wene kuchira filefe yakoba tiyo naleposa sana insta kuno obwarwa ma group influence filo kulasangu mu manchenda ayashuwe ayareshiwa so ndetasha sana pokumsambilisha koko bansambilisha babuteko nokundanga ko noma we makuba tinene kutinaendera okuchira muri monarende.
While incarcerated, inmates learn vocational skills meant to help them start up income-generating activities once they are discharged from the facilities. Through the provision of equipment and machinery to these facilities, the project has increased the number of vocational skills trainings made available to inmates, each one of them choosing their own. Vocational skills training include tailoring, carpentry, bricklaying, and general agriculture.
Ishinari andine gift mwila tuli kuno Zambia Correctional Services. Ichalenga tube kuno twali kwatemira ku bantu ichalenga baturete kuno. Although twali kwatemira but tumuna kwati bare tushupa ero twashirefe pa fest. But twawesa kuno batusambirije fintu fingi fyapusana sambiro kuri garden nga cabbage muno muno motoli twalisambirije kwikara n'abantu kai turekara abantu abapusana abashita understand abanabo abatemu fya kurandaranda but monse bari tusambirije fya kwikara n'abantu nangu twafuma kunso ku bantu abengi kwa abapusana na kwena nishina tushwe fya kwikara n'abantu dimo tatwashibe abengi tatwashibe kuri makwati cabbage so twashibe fyo kwangala bamo kupepa okunwa na fimbi urubuli lelo twasa kuno twasambirira nangu twakunse takuli iyo nshite yakunwa kupepa urubuli takuli kaina tusambirira mo kusangire mpia kwati kulima magarden fine amakabeji na fimbingeko twachuma kumaonyoni nefya pusana kwali bane skuru ngawo ikwata interest ku skuru bara tubwekisha ku skuru fine so that nangu wafuma kunze wayakonkanyapo.
Reoffending of former inmates in the country is rampant and puts a continuous strain on the correctional facilities due to overcrowding, depletes national resources, and has general negative impact on society. The Human Rights in Correctional Facilities Project interventions support facilities in preparing inmates for their reintegration back in their communities. This is done through community engagement in collaboration with Facility Offender Management Unit and the Social Welfare Office. The project has identified community volunteers called champions, some of whom are former inmates themselves, to locally spearhead actions and sensitization against discrimination of former inmates. They also encourage the community to welcome back inmates into their families and communities. To support former inmates in income-generating activities after their discharge, the project has established cooperatives and provided various forms of empowerment through which they work together along with other community members to generate income.
This program has helped inmates not to reoffend because we also formed cooperative under DAP. And these cooperatives, whenever the inmate is discharged, the inmate is being linked to the cooperative where he or she is coming from. So this has reduced the inmates or people out there to be recidivists or coming back to the prison because they have something to do out there.
We now go to Makopa in Serenje, where a cooperative comprising of former inmates and non-former inmates shows us their gardens, which they started with funding from the project. They also show us the goats they're rearing after raising money from growing maize.
Amashina yandini nebo Francis Musonda Mumba kuno ku Makopa twalipanga akabungwe keso kale tukutila natwamba mwa Makopa Multipurpose Cooperative Society nga fintu mumwene garden yesu twalitendeka punch time ine nga fintu ndesosa ninebo championi mnaka kabungo kumono kweba ati twapwisha obubwafya bwa discrimination elio twapwisha no bwafya bwa stigma. So iyi program yesu ile kumono kutira ifwe twali kutira twabombera chapamo ama former inmates na non former inmates kukana aba segregation pakati kesu. So nga fintu mumwene ini cabbage cabbage pali ino chitatukwete ama plants ali 2411 aya kumono kutira epa kutendekela pa lero nga twapushe cabbage yesu yonse twapusha panasa twapusha kuilima ilefika kuli 3000 plus. Echo yakutira twalasa kwata indala meshingi panchite sapobu yapala kwati mu November. Garden yesu ino tulima tomato, tulima cabbage, tulima lepu, tulima na onion. Ififi ntunga fyapya tulakwata okushitishako abanesu muno mu community yesu. Elio teapo peka nga fyafulisha tulakwata okusendo kutwala kuselenje boma ku market kutenda twakwata ko indalama ishafulinkana pakumono kutira abeka shiba cyalo cyesu kinwe cya Makopa nangule nchendesu inwe ya Makopa na bena bale kwato kumako kumunani weso tule kwato kulima ifwe pamonga ba former inmates.
The project has supported outreach programs in the community that sensitize members against discrimination and stigma against inmates.
Lelo twalipokelela programu abafungwa ilio mufungwa umolimbi apanga mistake nangula alufyanya mu community ilio asendwa no kuya kubuteko kutya bwaya bwa musungako ero nomba ilio asavinga imyaka iyo obuteko bwaya mupela kulya kwena ilio abwela kwena tulesa mukumupokelela pantu inchi abo umuntungwa bamo kunuma ilio program tayayishire ilio abwela kuda kubafungwa
vale moneka kwati limbi twale taramuka na bena kwati limbi twale tontonga nokutira nakaidi limbi turemu kankamba okutia yuta tulingire okubana kwesenge pamulando akutira alika kwapo nomba twale mono kutira awo abana bena bantungwa panti na yachitwa triti kulya kubuteko pakuwo kwati idi abwela kulya twale mu palamika pakutira twaba pamona kwe pakuwo kwati twale bafuirisha kuno kutira awe kumona mistake yo apangire eno nonkutira twale bafuirisha kono kubafunda okutira awe mune ifita ulingire okubwekisha panti obuteko bwalikana so mpaka nabena mpaka kyasukwa bakimono kutira kashi nabena bali abantungwa ili oba saving emyaka kulya okutira tatulita tupata pali umupaka nabena abafungwa na ifwefwe basha abapo abafungwa ili nomba tubombela pamo elo twasukwa twakwata na cooperative ile itu okutila na twambe mwamakopa mpaka twabana bena pamo tubombela pamo kaitulanshanisha chapamo ntio tulina abofye chapamo nabambi abashila akakulwa nabenanga bakakulwa nabena tulabapalamisha tukabapalamisha nabeno kuti yatube pamo pakuti yalimbi ilya mistake yo bapangire tababwekeshe polibiri bakwe bati twabombera chapamo okulingana community nokutwala community pantanshe kwena minimeo turebomba pamonga cooperative na twambe mwamakopa kuno kwa makopa.
It is important that former inmates are welcomed with open arms so that they do not reoffend and can be useful to the community. We now go to a house of a former inmate where his family explained the change they have seen in him since leaving the correctional facility, how they welcomed him, and how he is using his skills he learned in the facility under the EU DAP project.
Inamashina yandi nebo mwandwe Grace Ngosa ina abalume banje bali mu prison bakeli mwandwe lintu bafumire mu prison twali bapokelera fye bwino elo after bafuma bali tampo kulima garden amaonyonyi amarepu na matomatoes so inefo ndeto tera pali sambile ko tailoring and then basambila ko nefine fya gardening so apepo bafuma nimbona ko ka change ofo badili before tabala ya kulia ku prison kulia na sana ko nefo bali apa nomba mkwai.
Zambia Correctional Facility Officer in charge, John Hamaimbo, explained some of the outreach services where they talk to families of former inmates to prepare them to receive the inmates back home. He also talks about the importance of reconciliation between the inmates and the offenders and how this can help them reintegrate back in the community.
We are very much aware that these people, they offended outside there. Some within their own families, some with the neighbors and anyone outside there. So we have really realized that these people, though we try our best to rehabilitate them from here, they go out there with whatever they will go with, maybe knowledge, whatever. But we really realize that there they still have enemies, so to say, of which they might not have that harmony where they can at least live well. Now, to harmonize the situation outside there, we try our best, especially through the office of extension officers or maybe offender managers there, and of course with the help of the DAP personnel. Yes, we have offered ourselves or involved ourselves to send these officers there time and again to follow up where they offended their family and whoever is there, to try to reconcile, to bring these two families together, to look into the issue of reconciling, forgiving each other, to understand that this one is a human being. And when we talk to these people, at times we manage even to bring those people in here so that we sit them down with the offenders, of course our name is in here, so that they reconcile. We do these things in a very good atmosphere, that the one offended realizes that it happens is a human being, and the offender himself to understand that it's not like that. So we put them together until they forgive each other.
In juvenile reintegration, the project, through its support towards vocational skills, has facilitated income-generating activities to contribute towards their upkeep at juvenile facilities. Upon their discharge, the project has also provided starter packs to 207 juveniles to aid their reintegration back into the communities.
The European Union support through DAP have been very helpful at the Katombola Reformatory School. They've been helping us, or helped the institution there, in terms of education and skills training. On the education aspect, they've been helping learners or juveniles or lads in terms of provision of learning materials such as books, uniforms, and other requisites that are required for one to be at school. So they tend to supplement the school needs in terms of academic provision in that school. Then when it comes to skills, they've been very helpful in 3 major skills: general agriculture, metal fabrication and welding, and tailoring and designing. In these skills, they provide training materials, which helps the training to go smoothly before they can attempt to do TVET exams. Then the same material that they provide, we make products. Those products that are made, they are sold to the general populace or community through what we call a Katombola shopping outlet. When you enter just at Katombola 7 kilometers before you reach, there's a shop there known as Katombola shopping outlet, where these products are exhibited and sold to the general populace. And the general populace order their specific orders, which are made or manufactured into the workshops. Then on the academic path, those who excel, exceeding from grade 12 going upward, the DAP has been very helpful in terms of providing college provision. We have 4 lads that are pursuing primary education as teachers, where they are taught on how to adopt in a rural setting. So that process helps the children reintegrate quickly and settle into the community and start contributing to the well-being of the nation in terms of academic provision in schools. Then at the end of it, when we release some lads, the European Union has been supporting the best 4 children in each program, starter packs. So meaning that there are starter packs provision in each program, in tailoring, as well as metal fab, as well as general agriculture. So that helps the children that perform better to settle down and start self-reliant projects and programs. Then others, they also tend to join the other ex-inmates elsewhere that get released to form cooperatives, and they've been doing so well with the rest of the community. Then the headquarters have been also helpful to supplement some need areas that identified as gaps.
Zambia Correctional Services Deputy Commissioner Mrs. Namata Mayumbelo says partnerships are needed to improve the work of the correctional services. She also acknowledges the work of EU and DAP and hopes for continued support as the Zambia Correctional Services strives to improve the rehabilitation of former inmates and their reintegration back into communities.
Zambia Correctional Service developed an open door policy which allows stakeholders to come in to complement government efforts. And so far we are working with a number of stakeholders, which include DAP, and we have been working with DAP I think since 2010. From 2010, DAP has offered a number of projects and programs, which includes skills training for inmates, education.
Zambia Correctional Services Deputy Commissioner in Kabwe, Mrs. Namata Mayombelo, says inmates should enjoy their human rights just as anybody else, and that the academic qualifications that they get while incarcerated are just as valid and can enable them to compete with anybody else in society out there.
When a person commits an offense and is taken to court and is convicted, just the conviction is enough punishment. When they come to our facility, we treat them just like any other person. To us, they are inmates. They are inmates, and since our mandate is to correct them, we allow them to excel in most of the programs that we offer. We also follow the general goal of the government, not leaving anyone behind. So to us, this goal means that inmates are also human beings, and they are part of the government goal not to leave anyone behind. So they enjoy most of the rights outsiders are enjoying. For example, inmates undergo a number of skills, and they are tested by Tebeta, which tests even the outsider who are not incarcerated. And the certificate that is given to inmates is just the same certificate that is given to an outsider. It's not written Zambia Correctional Services or anything like that. So meaning that a former inmate can compete with an outsider using the same certificate. Even the educational certificates, the GCE, even at universities where they still acquire certificates that any other ordinary person acquire.
Human Rights in Correctional Facilities Project Grant Administrator Barbara Bikoko says the key achievement of the project in the places it has been operating has been reducing reoffending among inmates who are discharged.
In terms of achievements, I think the project has achieved a lot. The key issue is about reducing the rate of reoffending of inmates. And in the past 3 years that we have operated in this project, we have seen through our midterm evaluation a reduction in 6 adult facilities where we had a rate of 35% recidivism, which has now gone down to 21% in those facilities. So this is very notable for us, as it has served its purpose as intended.